In November 1440, one of Scotland's most infamous betrayals unfolded inside Edinburgh Castle. The event became known as the Black Dinner, when the powerful Douglas brothers accepted an invitation to dine with the young King James II, only to leave the castle without their heads. Nearly 6 centuries later, this chilling act of deception remains one of medieval history's darkest political murders, and is widely believed to have helped inspire the infamous Red Wedding from Game of Thrones. To understand why 2 teenagers became victims of such a calculated plot, we first need to understand just how dangerous their family had become. By the 1440s, the Black Douglases were far more than an ordinary noble house. They controlled enormous estates across southern Scotland, commanded private armies that rivaled the king's own, and possessed wealth and influence that threatened the authority of the crown itself. Many contemporaries believed they were becoming a kingdom within a kingdom. At the centre of it all stood 16-year-old William Douglas, the 6th Earl of Douglas. Having inherited both his title and the immense power of his family only months earlier, William was already one of the most influential men in Scotland. He travelled with an entourage worthy of royalty and inspired both loyalty and fear wherever he went. Meanwhile, Scotland's actual king was only a child. James II had inherited the throne after the assassination of his father, James I. Still far too young to rule, government was effectively controlled by 2 ambitious men: Sir William Crichton, the Lord Chancellor, and Sir Alexander Livingston, the King's Guardian. Although they worked together uneasily, they shared one overwhelming concern: the growing power of the Douglas family. To them, William Douglas was not simply a proud young nobleman. He was a future rival who might one day dominate the kingdom, or even challenge the crown itself. So, they devised a plan. William Douglas and his younger brother David were invited to Edinburgh Castle for what appeared to be a gesture of reconciliation. The invitation promised friendship, peace, and an opportunity to strengthen relations between the crown and Scotland's most powerful noble family. The brothers accepted. Inside the Great Hall, everything appeared perfectly normal. Food was served, wine flowed freely, and by several later accounts, the Douglas brothers even enjoyed the company of the young King James. The boys were close in age, and chroniclers describe them laughing together as if they were simply children sharing an evening meal, rather than figures at the centre of a dangerous political struggle. Then the atmosphere changed. According to the traditional story, servants entered carrying a black bull's head on a silver platter and placed it before William Douglas. To modern audiences, it might seem like an odd detail, but in medieval Scotland, the meaning was unmistakable. The black bull's head was an ancient symbol announcing death. It was not part of the feast, it was a sentence. Silence filled the room. Moments later, armed guards seized William and David. Some accounts suggest that a mock trial was hurriedly assembled, with accusations of treason, presented only to justify a verdict that had already been decided long before the brothers arrived at the castle. Whether the trial truly occurred or was later added by chroniclers remains uncertain. What is beyond doubt is what happened next. The 2 brothers were dragged into the courtyard of Edinburgh Castle. Alongside their companion, Sir Malcolm Fleming, they were swiftly beheaded. Some of the most dramatic accounts claim that the young King James pleaded for his friends' lives. Whether he was 6 or 10 years old, depending on the source, he possessed no real authority. Surrounded by powerful guardians who controlled both the kingdom and the castle, the child king could only watch as events unfolded beyond his control. The executions were brutally efficient. There was no great public spectacle, no lengthy legal process, and no opportunity for escape. A diplomatic banquet had become a carefully planned execution. Yet the conspirators achieved exactly the opposite of what they intended. Rather than breaking the power of the Douglas family, the killings enraged their supporters across Scotland. News spread rapidly, and a grim rhyme soon circulated describing how the Earl of Douglas had entered Edinburgh with his head upon his shoulders, but departed without it. The verse reflected the outrage felt by many who viewed the murders not simply as political necessity, but as a shameful violation of hospitality and honour. Even after the Black Dinner, the Douglases remained one of Scotland's dominant families. Leadership passed to William and David's great-uncle, James the Gross Douglas, and their influence endured for another generation. Ironically, years later, King James II himself would personally stab another Earl of Douglas to death during a confrontation at Stirling Castle. The cycle of violence that had shaped his childhood continued into his own reign, demonstrating just how deeply Scotland's struggles for power had become intertwined with bloodshed and betrayal. Today, the Black Dinner survives not only as a remarkable episode in Scottish history, but also as one of medieval Europe's most enduring tales of political deception. Its combination of false friendship, sacred hospitality, and sudden slaughter has made it one of the historical events most frequently cited as an inspiration for the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones. George R.R. Martin has openly acknowledged drawing from real medieval history, and the Black Dinner consistently appears among the events readers and historians connect to that unforgettable fictional massacre. But perhaps the most haunting aspect of the Black Dinner is not the violence itself. Medieval history offers no shortage of executions and assassinations. What makes this story unforgettable is the betrayal. A royal invitation, a shared meal, the promise of safety inside the king's own castle. Every detail was carefully arranged to convince two young noblemen that they were among friends. Instead, the feast became a trap. Nearly 600 years later, the Black Dinner remains a chilling reminder that throughout history, some of the deadliest weapons were not swords or axes, but trust itself. Two brothers sat down to dine as honoured guests of the crown. They never lived to see dessert.